concerned about it. Absolutely. When, of course, private equity, to participate, you pay a lot to participate in fees. What is your kind of interpretation of the tremendous interest in SPACs, these special purpose acquisition corporations? They used to be called blank check companies, where you give an investor your money, not knowing what company or companies they're going to buy and eventually take public. And is it kind of the same sort of phenomenon that you see in the cryptocurrencies, in the speculation in digital currencies, such as Bitcoin? I mean, is there something going on in the market that is troubling?
It is troubling. It's not necessarily at a stage where you would say this is a massive systemic risk that could take the entire financial system down.
Right.
But it is troubling, and is something that is worrying a lot of investors. The SPACs, for example, are evidence of when you have incentives in place that allow companies to essentially bypass an IPO process and raise a lot of funds, then those incentives will work and people will respond to incentives. And also, it's basically what we were talking about earlier, a reflection of just the amount of liquidity flooding the markets. One way one of our analysts put it, and I think it also gets to Bitcoin, your Bitcoin question, he took an estimate of global stimulus measures between monetary and fiscal and measured the total number over time. But then he divided that number by what he estimated to be the size of the financial markets. So basically, stimulus measures in dollar terms divided by the size of the markets. And he drew that line over time and showed that how it jumped during COVID for reasons that are understandable, right? To rescue the economy, an unprecedented shock in the economy. But essentially, his conclusion was, look, there is more money chasing less stuff to buy than ever before in history.
Wow.
Think of the 25 trillion I mentioned earlier, but it's roughly, it's more than 30-40% of the total size of the stock market globally, the total market cap of the stock market.
Whew.
So that leads to things like SPACs taking up.
A lot of people say this has to end badly. What's your view?
I think there's reason to worry, and we look at sentiment, investor sentiment, trying to see how willing people are to speculate on markets. Yes. And we also look at liquidity, and we're kind of conflating the two and talking about both, right? Lots of money chasing less stuff to buy, and also investors being optimistic. It's the combined effect of the two. If you carve out sentiment measures, we look at about 25 different sentiment measures. It's not extreme. So I'm not saying we're not seeing speculation and excessive speculation and excessive liquidity in many parts of the markets. But in my mind, it's not in bubble territory from a sentiment perspective.